Hi, my name is Laura. I'm just gonna talk about my experience and my fight to see my son, to be his mother. I met his father in St. Louis. We were college sweethearts. We had both studied abroad in Webster, Thailand. And I fell in love with him. We dated for 6 months, and he asked me to marry him, and I was younger, naive, and I said yes, because I wanted him to be able to stay in the country. Everybody had warned me that it could be a green card scam, but I thought for sure that couldn't happen. I just didn't think it would happen because I met him in college. I didn't know him well. I didn't know his background well. All I knew is he worked really hard. He was studying for his doctoral in management. We got married in the courthouse, and in March 22nd of 2006, and then we had the wedding. His family came from Vietnam in 2007, July, and almost immediately he began ignoring me, pretty much abandoned the marriage, started gaslighting me, meaning he wouldn't talk to me for months, days, and then he would tell me he's teaching me how to be a good wife, that I didn't deserve him, that this is how you teach. He teaches me a lesson. I thought, what the heck? I just was like, I thought it was crazy. I tried to talk to him. He'd ignore me for months and months, and I would seriously think something was wrong with me. I'd try to be better, but nothing was ever good enough. And he started to tell me my family didn't love me. At our wedding, he would count the money over and over and over again, and wouldn't let me tell my parents what each gift was, because he said they shouldn't know. And I wanted to leave him at that point because I knew he wasn't the same person. I thought he wasn't the same person that I thought I had married, but at the time I didn't realize that it was probably that he was defrauding me for the green card. He started working immediately. He did all the paperwork for sponsorship. My parents signed everything. And he knew how to do everything, which was odd for someone who barely spoke English. And his history didn't add up either. He had said that he worked on a ship in Ho Chi Minh, Vietnam, in an island off the city, and he also said that he was doing import-export of machinery, and that he was trying to marry his ex-girlfriend, but her parents didn't like him. Her aunt and uncle didn't like him, and how she was poor, and he had moved to study in the US, and she was in Hawaii, and it just didn't add up. Nothing in his past added up. He would say everybody loved him, everyone wanted their daughter to marry him in Vietnam. Just seemed like not real. So then I got pregnant, and he was still doing this on and off, talking to me, rewarding me, buying me things, and then not talking to me for 3 months, 4 months. And then he'd be nice again. So I was really depressed and flipping back and forth between him being normal and him not being normal. And then when I got pregnant in 2009, he said, oh, my mom's gonna immigrate here, and you're gonna help immigrate her to raise our kid. And I said, no, that's something that we have to agree to do together. And he said, nope. If you don't like it, I'm gonna kick you out of the house. You're not my wife anymore. This is my culture. And I talked to my Vietnamese friends a lot, and they said, no, there are some hard-headed people, but the way he was acting was not okay, even in Vietnam. So I had the baby, he immigrated her, did all the paperwork. I didn't really agree to live with her. Then he decided, okay, we're gonna move. He moved us to Florida so he could teach. I had to quit my job as a social worker. His mom was with us, and she wouldn't let my parents. It was horrible. She wouldn't let my parents hold the baby much. She wouldn't let them change his diaper, anything. We moved to Florida, and all of a sudden, he's never around anymore. May, June, July, he's in Vietnam, Thailand, teaching. December, January, he's gone, teaching. He's always overseas. He doesn't talk to me. We don't really have a relationship. And all he says to me is, be happy, I give you money. Here's the credit card. That's all you need, basically. And he buys luxurious gifts for my family. He gives them compliments, gives them all sorts of things. Pays for their flights. Bought my grandma like a flat screen TV. So everybody thinks he's the best guy in the world. And he's a professor, so he's the smartest guy in the world. But behind closed doors, he doesn't talk to me. He says he has to punish me. Anytime my son would fall, he would start screaming and say, you're a bad mom, he's not allowed to fall. Basically training me to feel hopeless and useless. And he did the same thing to his mom. When she pissed him off, he sent her back to Vietnam and didn't talk to her for a year. And then brought her back because his dad was like begging him to bring her back. Doesn't make any sense. Your husband doesn't want you in Vietnam. Why are you... It doesn't make sense. So he sends her back to the U.S. And then I go to visit my friend in Colorado. He doesn't pick me up from the airport. He says, I'm a bad wife. I'm not allowed to see my friends. What kind of wife goes out with her friends? What kind of wife who has a baby goes out to see a friend in another city? A female friend. So he's just really crazy, and had to call the police on him a couple times because he was so screaming and scaring me and my son when he was 6 months or 1 year. And flash forward to 2012, we moved to Danville, Pennsylvania. He says it's a better job offer, and he's still overseas every December and January, May, June, July. This time, we're trying to have a baby. He has condoms in his wallet. I find them. He says, I'm allowed to do whatever I want. I can have a condom. He tells me flat out, I'm sleeping with my students in a hotel room, and you can't say anything. It's up to me. They don't have money. I have to help them. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, what is wrong with this person? And his mom is like, I'm crying and upset. His mom's like, oh, don't worry. His dad cheated on me a lot. It's okay. Just deal with it. I'm like going out of my mind, wanting to leave him, wanting divorce. He's never in the country. In 2014, my parents came. Actually, this is before. So, in 2014, September, I found a suitcase in his mom's room with padlocks all over it. I cut it open and I find she has all this cash, like thousands of dollars from I don't know where, some hard drives, all the car stuff being put into her name that he hadn't told me about, her bank accounts that I had no idea about, and he has a hard drive that's normal pictures of family, and a hard drive full of different women from Southeast Asia posing in front of the camera. Some of them are from Thailand, some from Vietnam, a lot of them though, and didn't make sense because he wasn't in any of the pictures. Some of them were young kids, and none of them were family. He had a whole nother section for family, and he had a video, he had a lot of shots of a child posing in the bathtub, and some naked infants. You can see their private parts, and they're in front of a stuffed animal, like plastic fruit around them. And I'm just when I saw this stuff, I went to stay at a women's shelter. I took my son. Literally, like, I couldn't think straight. I felt like the whole world was dropped. Like, who is this person that I've been married to? How could this happen in my house without me knowing? I mean, I knew he was a jerk, an asshole, an abuser, but I didn't know he was, like, in some kind of cartel producing child pornography, and I don't know who these women are. I don't know. I reported to the police. I reported, and they say, oh, you can't have this stuff because even if it's your husband's, it's illegal. They took it. I gave this information to the FBI. I met with the FBI, the one in Philadelphia, and they said, men who do this kind of stuff are extremely difficult to convict. They never get caught. They run away. Go back to Danville and tell the FBI who's over there. So I meet with Agent Earl. He meets with me. He says, oh, I think you're a really smart girl. You have a master's degree, psychology. It's probably likely that you're making all this up, and I think you better stop talking about this, or else I'm gonna charge you with obstructing justice. You're just smart and you're making it up. So that's So I'm just thinking, how can this be happening? If no one's following the laws, the FBI say I'm lying. I'm not lying. Everyone knows I'm not lying. It was like one person after another telling me to shut up. My attorney told me, don't say anything about your ex-husband's child pornography. Don't say anything about your son telling you his dad is doing sexual things with him, which is what had happened. The counselor who said, yes, your son was sexually molested by his father. There's no way that a kid would draw these pictures and talk about sex like this unless they were exposed to it. Children and Youth was called. They said that I was crazy. I was making it up. They told the counselor they didn't want to hear her story because they didn't want to know about it because mom is crazy and mom is making it up. And I start researching, and there's actually a policy, that the good parent, bad parent policy in the court, that says whichever parent is more difficult, we're going to give the child to the opposite parent. My attorney, Brian Kerstetter, said, you better not talk about sexual abuse because every woman that says something like this loses custody of their child.